Now, this morning we continue our conversations by talking about all that's happening as it relates to crime here in the island, on the island of Tobago. And we're going to touch a bit on a number of things, but to have this conversation with me this morning, I have the privilege of sitting in studio with Inspector for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Mahalia Bacchus. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. Now, we want to have a really interesting conversation, and there's a lot that's happening and a lot that we can touch on, but unfortunately, we have a limited time this morning. But more importantly, we've seen, like never before, there has been a surge in crime in the on the island of Tobago, and persons have been concerned from a business standpoint, even from the standpoint of, the family. Can you please update us on some of the initiatives that the TTPS have been taking to, help rebuild the confidence of Tobagonians in the police service, and just overall what has been happening? We know we saw the switching out of two of the top cops, and they're being replaced as a means of, the shaking up that's happening within the TTPS. So give us an update on all that's happening.
Okay, so good morning. Good morning to Tobago, and thank you for having me here this morning. I'm pleased to be here. In general, the Tobago division has been doing an excellent job, regardless of what we see that has been happening. And I think it has been expressed before that a lot of the homicides and so on that we are seeing have been gang related. So in keeping with our TTPS operational plan, and also the commissioner has designed a crime reduction plan, our efforts are in terms of dismantling and eradicating gangs throughout Trinidad and Tobago, because what we see is that they have infiltrated our society here, and it's not like only Trinidadians coming here. We have persons in Tobago who are actually part of these gangs and are supporting the activities that are taking place. So some of the messages that we want to send out there are anti-gang messages. We want our young people to know that this is not a lucrative avenue in terms of a choice for life. There are better things that you can do to help yourself as a young person than to be attracted to the guns and the drugs and that life of crime. One of the things that we have seen over the years is the music that has helped to fuel some of these activities and what people tend to find themselves engaged in when it comes to gangs. So what we are on the path of really sensitizing the public. What are some of the signs that you look for? Some of the things that you don't need to accept in a community. And when you see it, you raise an alarm. Our other non-governmental organization, the faith-based organizations, our community councils, our youth groups, all the persons on the outside who can make a difference and to make a change so that we could see something else different for Tobago that we were accustomed to and not what we are seeing now. We shouldn't be comfortable with what we see in our communities, what has raised its head in as a quiet place such as Argyle, right? Every day you look on the news, you saw those two instances happening, and different things are taking place, and you're hearing so many things in the community spaces that are happening. But we as a people and persons in our community, we have to stand up and say this is not acceptable, and let us get rid of the few elements that are causing these problems for us in our society.
Right. And when it comes to the changing out of the two heads that were in Tobago, Mr. Rodel Kirk as well as Mr. Collis Hazel, who have now been transferred to Trinidad, how has that impacted the organizational culture, if any, and how has that transition been in the Tobago division?
Well, one of the things that I can say that when we all join the service, no matter where you are placed, you are still a police officer, and you are expected to operate at the rank that you are given in the service. So the focus on the two heads going to Trinidad, there were two persons sent here who are equally as capable as they are to run the division. the movement of the officers in terms of culture, really, everybody comes with a different management style and so forth. So it's pretty still new, and we are going along, as I said, we are being guided by the operational plan, which is the main objectives and the goals set out for the service. So no matter who you are or where you are placed, even Mr. Cook or Mr. Hazel, where they are, have to be guided by those operational plans in terms of where the space that they are in terms of achieving those goals and objectives. So culturally, there hasn't been, to say, well, any extreme change, but we still continue into the part of trying to get community engagement and to provide public safety for staff, and also at the same time trying to get operational excellence for the service and looking at the welfare of the officers within it so that we can achieve these goals that we are looking at.
Right, and the budget presentation was just last week on the 30th of September. Were there things in particular that the TTPS were looking forward to or is looking forward to in regard to the type of allocation that is needed to help to develop the Tobago division?
Well, what I was happy to see is the allocation in terms of purchase of over 2,000 vehicles for the TTPS, and this is over a period of time, but it is still timely and welcomed and accepted. I recently heard the commissioner, she was speaking on an interview at the airport, and just as what she was saying, the vehicles that could be fixed, they would be fixed because now we have some funding. And also we welcome the fact that we are getting new vehicles, because in order for us to respond properly, in order for us to create a presence, we need those vehicles on the outside, along with the foot as well. But if you are to be more strategic in what we do, the vehicles are more helpful in helping us to respond to situations on the outside and for persons called to service. Because when you look at Tobago geographically, especially in the east, some districts, for example, Charlottesville, comprise of all the way Lance for me. So you have the Charlottesville police station being in Charlottesville itself, but you have to tend to a report across in Lance for me and Bloody Bay, right? So when you look at the geographical location, the vehicles are really, really important to us here in Tobago.
All right. And when it comes to boosting the morale of officers, what are some of the initiatives that are happening within the Tobago division to ensure that all officers are up to standard, but also are taking care of their mental health?
Okay. So one of the things the TTPS focuses on a lot is in terms of leadership and creating capable leaders who are competent as well, which also involves motivation, and the motivation will come along in terms of motivating your staff. So we tend to be a lot emotionally intelligent as to how we reach out to our members of staff. We look at how we have work-life balance and ensure that persons' social life is just as equally important to how they operate on the job, to create that job satisfaction for officers. So we look out for them. We ensure that sometimes there are, de-stressing activities that the officers are involved in. We have a very active EPA system, and that involves our social worker. And ever so often we have little debriefing sessions or little icebreaker sessions with staff to take away the stressful moments that they have to encounter on a daily basis, when they have to treat with so many reports and at the same time balance what they have going on in their social life. So that is what we do in terms of creating that mental health and wellness for officers.
All right. Excellent. So we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back with much more conversation. So see you soon. Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, I don't know if you know, but we are counting down to the pre-grand opening of Mommy Say, Nurturing, a non-governmental organization dedicated to supporting low-income and new and expecting mothers and children. This is going to be happening on October the 13th, which is next Sunday, at Bushy Park in Glamorgan, Tobago, only at 2:30 p.m. So you would be the first to experience some of their services, which include newborn preparedness hampers, affordable maternity and children's clothing, and a lot more. There'll also be free school supplies distributed on a first-come, first-served basis. And so much that you can benefit from if you come early. So they're officially going to be opening their doors on Monday, the 14th of October from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with regular business hours Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you would be welcomed to their Mommy Say family. So if you want to get more information, just go ahead over to TikTok or to Facebook and follow them, all right? All the information is there. Mommy Say, Nurturing Pod, all the support that you need as a new mom. Guys, we want to welcome you back to Good Morning Tobago. We have been chatting with Mahalia Bacchus, who is the inspector at the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning again.
Now, it's been a pleasure discussing with you this morning, but we want to shift gears a bit from all that the TTPS has been doing in Tobago to what has happening on the domestic violence front. Now, it was just, I believe, a week before last week that we heard one of our senators was removed from Parliament because of a situation with domestic violence. So that is to say that domestic violence happens at all levels of society, whether it be, high income, low income. It goes across all, levels of the economy. It doesn't matter man, woman, or child. Persons experience domestic violence. But we're seeing now more than ever, occurrences happening in the media, online, of domestic violence, because we have social media, persons are recording these incidences, they're being placed online. Tell us a bit about some of the work that you guys have been doing to combat domestic violence and managing these cases.
Okay, so thank you very much. And as you rightfully said, domestic violence doesn't have any respect of persons. It doesn't matter where you sit in society, it could happen to you. So one of the things that I want persons to recognize is that domestic violence is not only about somebody lashing someone or creating that physical abuse. It also involves financial abuse, there's psychological abuse, there's sexual abuse, and also emotional abuse when it comes to domestic violence. Now, the TTPS remains committed in treating with domestic violence issues, so much so the unit was formed in the TTPS known as the Special Victims Unit now, which formerly we had the gender-based unit, the child protection unit separately, and the sexual offenses unit in separate units. But now they have all been amalgamated into one, known as the Special Victims Department, SVD. Right? So within that space, all those reports that are dealt with within that unit of the TTPS, and we have them based here in Tobago as well at the Shervan Road Police Station, led by Acting Inspector Miller. And these officers are well trained and well poised to deal with all the reports of domestic violence. Now, what I want persons to understand is that if you are experiencing any type of domestic violence, you can go anywhere into any police station in Tobago or in Trinidad and report this matter. The matter will then be transferred to the respective district or area where it would have happened, so that the officers there could take action and treat with it. And all reports are dealt with as serious reports. Right. They are not taken lightly.
I'm glad that you said that, and I am glad that you specifically touched on the fact that the officers are well trained. But in your response, you indicated that domestic violence is not just physical violence. You have emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and you have that financial abuse. How does one report financial abuse?
All right. So, for example, and I just want to make sure and state as well, domestic violence don't always happen to females only. It also happens to males as well. But you will find that the females are the one that will come forward to report it to the police most of the times. So, for example, you might be in a relationship where you are married, you have your husband, and or the wife. They are the person that is working, that is working or employed, and for whatever reason they are not supplying the other person or helping to maintain them financially, right? They may avoid giving them monies to help themselves to do certain things, to even buy a new piece of clothing. And the person will be asking and it is not being given at all. and have them feeling in a particular way and distressed, so much so that it sends that signal emotionally, because sometimes situations like these could trigger other things to happen to the individual and leads to other instances or situations that could affect that person's mental health. So the position that they may be in, they are the ones employed and are avoiding assisting the other person intentionally without any particular reason, just being abusive to them. So this could be reported to the police, and you have the mediators, you have different things set up to assist in treating with that. Now, I know you mentioned that the officers being well trained, so much so that the police academy now has a module set up in terms of gender responsive policing for the officers who are now coming into the service. So this is a new module that they are using so that it is victim-centered for the officers to recognize what signs, what they need to look for when the reports are made. Sometimes it may not be the victim itself, but some other person who is concerned about the welfare of the individual that may make the report to the police and cause them to intervene. So you have to know what you are looking for in order to determine, well, this is a case of domestic violence.
Right. And I'm interested to know, how does one really treat with verbal and financial abuse? What are the repercussions of such? Because, sometimes there's a situation where, as you indicated, it's just, let's use for example, just the husband that's the breadwinner who's working, and you have a stay-at-home mom. What are the implications? What can happen to a husband who is being financially abusive?
Right,
and
so
he continues in that vein and, says things like nobody could do him anything or...
All right, so hence the reason why we look at it as domestic violence, which is an offense. So if you are taken before the court, you could have the magistrate making certain pronouncements so that if he gives an order or she gives an order, that you have to provide at least $500 per week based on what you are working for to the spouse, whether it be the male or the female, to assist them, right? Because sometimes you denying that person of the money could mean that they can't help themselves in a particular way. They may need it for medication or for something, probably to attend the child's meeting, to buy a new piece of clothing, to attend the child's a school meeting or something, that may be helpful to them. And you not giving it to them causes that mental stress on that individual.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear that it is categorized as such, because I think this is really important information. And again, extremely important for you guys to share this live, because it may just be the type of information that someone needs to hear today for their own situations. A lot of persons, because they are, married, may feel like, situations like child support is not, relevant to them. Women are also, faced with the burden of shame, to say, okay, well, I'm a married woman and this man does not support in any type of way, whether it be that she is working and he just doesn't contribute to the household at all, even in these, rare situations, things like this happen. So, we are imploring you to share this live or share it to someone in their DM. But when it comes to safety and security here on the island of Tobago, there's a lot that's going to be happening specifically in this month of October. We have Carnival that's happening at the end of this month, and we want Tobagonians and or visitors that are going to be on the island to be safe. So, just direct the people on some of the safety initiatives that are happening and what they can do during this period to keep themselves safe.
All right, so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we know that the carnival is coming up and we expect an influx of persons coming into the island, onto the island as well. So we want persons to be mindful of their surroundings. When you're attending your parties and so on, try to go as groups or with someone else. If you're driving, avoid drinking and driving at the same time, because this in itself is a risk to yourself and other persons on our roadway. One of the things I see happening in the Crown Point space is a lot of RTAs, road traffic accidents happening, and we know how busy down there could be in the night. Look at where you're crossing the road, which is really, really important. The lighting conditions are important when you are crossing the road, that the vehicle can see you. If there are zebra crossings, you utilize the zebra crossings when you're crossing the roadway. You also have to look at not being led astray when you're attending parties and so on, being caught up with persons, the advent of being given drugs, right? You have the date rape drugs, you have different synthetic pills on the outside, ecstasy and so on, that could lead to a person end up being raped because you may not know where you are. These days we have a lot of people infusing the marijuana into food, like the cakes and the cookies and these kind of things. So you have to be able to be smart enough to know what you are ingesting, what you're looking at, so that nobody could take advantage of you. All right. So
is it a crime to give someone a drug infused cake or something without their knowledge that that has drugs or weed in it?
well, the laws now don't really cater for the food part entity of it, putting the marijuana into the cakes and so on, so that the persons could be penalized accordingly. Because we have seen it. Just recently, we had a situation in the Speyside High School where a student infused some cereal with cannabis oil, and about 8 students ended up in the hospital. Now, most of the time, what we do is like interventions to assist the persons to understand that, provide information to sensitize other students and so on, going forward to avoid these kinds of situations. Because some people are nonetheless wiser, some people are naive of what they are being given. And I often tell persons, your reaction to something may not be the reaction that I may get. And some people have a thin line in terms of their mental state, and you don't know what could trigger it. So you so have to be careful as to what you are ingesting or using when attending these parties and so forth.
Okay, thank you. And as we wrap up this morning, now more than ever, social media is an integral part of how we communicate and how we do business. Now, a lot of persons are skipping, the traditional means of finding what they want, of going to the stores or going to magazines and newspapers, and they are going online to find the things that they desire, because of its convenience. But with that comes a number of risks. Can you talk to us about how persons now can secure themselves from online fraud?
Okay, so this has been a trend that we have seen occurring very frequently these days, in terms of reports coming in where persons see a person put a vehicle up for sale, and they go ahead and deposit large sums of money into accounts in the bank without doing their due diligence to check on the vendor to see who these persons are. They don't even have much information about the car. They may just see a picture, but they don't have enough information as to the number plate, the license plate of the vehicle, and who the banking information, who they are treating with, and so on. And we see people depositing monies and getting scammed online doing these things. So I'm asking persons, when you see these ads, do your due diligence with these individuals and check to see who they are. Who are you conducting business with, right? And even if you have to get someone on the other end of Trinidad, because most times the persons are in Trinidad, to have check the vehicle or check the item before it gets to you, to ensure that these persons are legit, so that you would not be fleeced of your money when the time comes.
What are some things to look forward to or to look out for with these scammers? What are some common traits that can identify an online business or a person or offer as possibly being scammed? Because there's this saying, if it sounds too good to be true, then it's probably too good to be true.
And just like you said, sometimes it sounds too good to be true and too easy, to acquire the stuff. And some people get caught very easily because, I said, they don't do due diligence and really check out what they are going to purchase. I've seen people saw jewelry online, and obviously jewelry could look good, right? And they went ahead and deposited monies to get the items. They never received them. They never received it. So you have to be careful. There are some things you can't physically check, and you should avoid. Use the jewelry store. Use the jewelry store if you have to purchase the items that you really are looking for, because sometimes the bargain, as we say, is not always as lucrative or the best thing for you. You end up losing twice. You never get the item and you lost your money.
Excellent. Now, I'm glad you said that because I was going to advise the public to go with accredited or credible businesses when doing online transactions. If there are no reviews or persons that you can reach out to ensure that it is legit, then you probably should not do business with that person. Even if it's just an online clothing store, you can possibly, go to the comments, ask persons who, if they have purchased from this store before, maybe even reposting the store and asking, has anyone used this store? Is this legit? And get some feedback before using any bank accounts to transfer any money to anyone. Whether it be, for 100 TT dollars or, upwards of $10,000, be very, very skeptical about how you are spending your money in this time and in this season. Now, we're going to wrap up this morning's discussion, but is there anything that you want to advise or, say as we close this morning?
All right, I just want to advise the public, as usually, TTPS always encourages persons, if you see something, please say something. It is one of the ways that we could change what is happening now in our space. Be mindful that we treat all our reports, all information that we have in a confidential manner, and at all times we try to treat with the information that is given to us. So please, I'm asking all persons on the outside, all citizens, to recognize the role that they play in what we want to see as change for Tobago and to get back to where we were before, right? So if you see something, please say something.
Thank you so much. Now, before we close off this morning, I want to just tell you again, specifically if you're just joining us, that Mommy Say Nurture Pod is being launched on October the 13th. That's next Sunday at 2:30 p.m. And we're counting down the time for that grand opening. And that is a non-profit organization dedicated solely to support to low income and new moms, as well as expecting moms and children. So you can be the first to experience some of their services, which include newborn preparedness hampers, affordable maternity and children's clothing, and so much more. Now, if you get there early, you may be able to benefit from some of their free school supplies that would be distributed on a first-come, first-served basis. They're officially opening their doors on October the 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., while their regular business hours would be from Monday to Thursday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, you don't want to miss this. Don't be late. Come out and be a part of it. Come out and support it. Be a part of the Mommy Say family. Now, you can visit their Facebook or TikTok pages where you can follow them and follow all that they are doing. So that's all that we have for you today. Again, Tobago Updates is going through a period of restoration and rebuilding as we have lost our original Facebook page to a hacking attack. But we are doing all that we can do to rebuild and to bring you quality content from wherever you are in the world to allow you to stay updated with all that's happening here at Tobago Updates. I want to say a special shout out to all the persons who meet me and let me know that they are always watching and always supporting. Now, you have a civic duty to help us get back to where we were before. We're doing our job here, but you have to do yours as well. Now, you are a part of the Tobago Updates family, so that means you have a duty to continue to like, to share, to comment, and to put the live in your group chats. Put it in your WhatsApp chats, send the page, let persons know that Tobago Updates has a new Facebook page. Like, share, let's get back to where we were before. This attack is not going to do anything to us. We're just going to continue to build and increase our quality as we contribute to development here in the island of Tobago through quality media production. Thank you so much and have a great day.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the sky.